Hey guys, what's up? So today we're gonna do something a little different. I got my Camtono from Disney online store, and it's a really cool thing. The only problem is it's kind of boring, and I decided that I'm gonna do some kind of a weathering and perhaps even, you know, we travel to conventions and stuff all the time and do 3D printing, and I thought it'd be kind of cool if you know, we had somewhere to store our business cards in it, on the table or something like that. So we're gonna strip this down a little bit and just on the fly do some weathering and just change it up a little bit. I think it needs a nice mythosaur skull on it somewhere, and you know, a couple other things, and we're just gonna wing it today. So let's get started. First, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit everything with some steel wool. I'm using 000 steel wool here, and the reason I'm doing this is because if we end up putting a little bit of paint on this, we want to make sure that it sticks to something. So we're just roughing it up a little bit here, and you know, it's also, if we get some scratches in there from this too, it's just going to add to the weathering, give the paint something to dig into and go into. So I'm going to go around this whole thing and make sure that we get at least any of the weathering that came on it, which is kind of ridiculous. We're going to get that off there a little bit, get some scratches in it, and then we're just going to make it up as we go. But we're going to add some scratches in this, and I'm just taking a, it's called a cabinet scraper. We're just digging in a little bit here and there. We're going to make some marks in it. You can get a cabinet scraper off of Amazon. Pretty cheap. We're not going to get too crazy with this in case we don't like them when we get going on it. Just a couple here and there. All right, so we got our surface scratches on it. And let's get a template up real quick to get us a nice mythosaur skull on there. So I went in and used the Cricut and actually cut out, which unfortunately you can't see on the clear stuff that I used, but I cut out some Imperial logos on this, and they are actually right here, and I did the inverse of them, so I did the negative. So I've got it masked off, and I'm going to spray paint the Imperial logos on all of these, and then I'm going to take them off and actually remove the majority of them here. So we're going to get started on this. I'm going to get the rest of this masked off so we don't have very much overspray. Then we'll move over to the paint booth so that you can see what I've done with the Imperial logos. All right, so we've got our paint down. Let's just tear off our masking here and take a look. This is one of the most rewarding parts of masking and painting. See if what you did actually worked. Now I used a flat black to do this. I did not do a good job of painting on this. I just hit it real quick because I'm going to remove quite a bit of paint of this Imperial emblem, because I actually want a mythosaur skull on there, but I want the remains of what would have been the Imperial emblem. So let's take our masking off. and see how we did, and then we're gonna use some steel wool and actually remove most of this paint. We're just gonna leave the essence of it behind. And if I scratch it up a little bit while I'm trying to remove it, that is okay. That's just gonna add more battle damage to this. So my idea is, this was originally an Imperial owned piece of equipment, and we're going to convert it into a Mandalorian piece of equipment. Mandalorian Camtono. So I've got another one over here that I'll remove in a second, but yeah, they came out really well. So it's still not fully dry, and I'm going to take some steel wool and I am just going to start scratching it out. I'm going to use a circular motion on this. And because I used a flat black paint, it's going to come off relatively easy. So I'm just going to work on this for a minute and get it down to where I want it, and then I'm going to move over to the other one and do the same thing. But oh yeah, that's coming out just right. You're almost just getting that faded essence of what it was. That is exactly what I was going for. So now we've got it down to a very, very light color and texture there. So now I'm going to work on this one, and then we'll do the third one. And all right, so we've got our Imperial logos all washed out here real nice with some steel wool. Now I'm going to go back, and I've cut some mythosaur skulls out of some transparent masking material. And you're not going to be able to see it yet on camera, but I've already got one in place over the Imperial cog, and we're gonna get the other two on the panels, and then hit it with some red, I think. All right, let's see what happens. I have no clue how this is gonna look. I do love doing projects like this where you're just kind of flying by the seat of your pants. So let's get our masking off. And let's just take a peek and see what we did. Let's say that's a winner. Got that subtle marking of the Imperial emblem there, but yet we've got the Mandalorian mythosaur skull looming over it. I'm gonna get the rest of this masking off, and then we're gonna work on this for a minute. Looks pretty good. I'm happy. I'm very happy with that. Okay, so Zach, behind the camera, is testing my painting skills today. He wanted to know if we could paint this rim, and I'm gonna give it the old college try here, but I have no idea how clean this is gonna be. This is gonna be a ton of masking and probably a lot of cleanup at the end. That's all right. Challenge accepted, I guess. All right, let's unmask it and see where we're on. Where we got us here. This might have been a mistake. Might not have, though. It's like Bob Ross says. Happy little accidents, or whatever the heck he says. I don't even know. What does he say, Zach? Happy little trees. Happy little accidents. There we go. Hey, not too bad. All right, so the orange masking tape that I have down here on the bottom, I'm going to leave that for right now because we're going to spray these buckles a different color here. But I'm going to leave that on there for right now. That looks pretty good. Give a little extra splash of color there. So, all right, we're going to move on to the next challenge, the next color. A little bit of overspray on it. Get that removed real quick. Good. All right, let's get the masking tape off. See what damage we did. If you are painting and not letting your stuff completely cure like I'm doing tonight, I do recommend you peel slowly on your tape. All right, we're gonna get the rest of this tape off, and then we'll give you a quick slow rotation of it so that you can kind of see what we've done so far. And then of course, all right, let's get to some weathering here. So let's just start with a light color. I like to start with light colors first. This is raw sienna. Now there's a bunch of different ways you can do this. So if you wanted to take your brush, dilute your paint, all that stuff, I mean, there's no real wrong way to do this. I'm gonna do it in probably a slower fashion. I'm just gonna get some of this on my brush. We're gonna dab it and tap it in some areas, go back, remove some. We're gonna do just a slow buildup of all this stuff. But the more random we can get it, the better. Get some in our corners here, some streaks. And when I start with the lighter color, I like to just get the gist of it on there. You can always add more later. So this isn't a rocket science. This is more of an artisty thing, I guess. The good news is, since we're just using some acrylic paints here, if you do get too much in one spot, you can go back. You can go back with your steel wool. You can just wipe it off. Now, rub it off, I would guess I should say. And just to save some watching time for you guys, I'm going to start here on the top, get as much as I can done, and then I'm probably going to cut the camera because this is a little bit time consuming and kind of boring to watch, if I'm being honest with you. So we're just dabbing the paint on. Here in just a second, I'm going to get into some of the more cracks and crevices of this. I'm going to use a makeup sponge, one of those triangle-y things that if you're a guy, you could probably go steal one from your wife. If you're a woman watching this, you're probably thinking that idiot doesn't know that those probably have a name. I don't know what they're called, but sorry. All right, so just getting the top in real quick. Happy with it so far, no big deal. I'm going to move over to a burnt sienna. So we did start with the raw sienna. So I'm just gradually getting a little darker of a color as I'm going. The final is going to be black. So since this is a little bit darker, we're gonna be a little more light on it. We don't need to get it everywhere. And I'm just dabbing it in random spots, and you can wipe it, you can dab it, you can do whatever you want here. And as you're going, you can be looking at it thinking, well, that's not very interesting to look at, but it's the layers that we're working on. We want a little here, a little there, and you're going to start seeing in a little bit that it's going to start taking a real interesting tone to it. You just want to keep building up a little bit at a time here. So the edge that's up in here is going to be difficult to get to, so I'm just going to take my makeup sponge and just get a little water on it. And I'm going to dab up in that crevice as best I can. That's where dirt and grime would collect. I'm not going to do much with that. That looks pretty good there. A little bit goes a long way. And I got a little bit more in there than I wanted to, so we're just going to take our rag, a little bit of water on it, come back in, and we're just going to pick it back up. I'm not going to rub it. Just get some of that out. All right, we're getting there. Like I said, just going to work on the top for now. I'll move to the other sides and probably do that off camera and spare you some boring watching of this. So now I'm going to move over to a burnt umber. As I said, this is starting to get a little darker, so as I'm going with the darker, I'm going to try to get more in the cracks, more in the crevices. At the end of this, I will probably take a black and actually wash the whole thing to really get in those cracks and crevices. But for now, we're just haphazardly dabbing some of this on. Get some down in there just to where your dirty fingers would be. This is all subject to the eye of what you're trying to accomplish. So you might look at mine and think, well, that's not dirty enough. Or you might look at it and think, that's too dirty. So around these buttons, you would push often enough and get just a little darker here where the control box is here. Let's get some of that down in this crevice. There's a little indentation here. We're just going to rub that in. And then again, go back with some water and we'll pick some of that back out. The most important thing when you're doing this is, if you can remember, don't rub it. Don't rub if you're using a rag of any kind, you don't want to rub that, because you're going to make smears and it's going to look like you wiped it on. So the best thing to do is dab as much as you can. Just keep working our way around here. These indentions up in there, we're getting those nice and dirty. The longer you leave your paint set on the model here, the more water you're going to have to use to take it off, or the more you're going to leave on. Don't want too many clean places on this thing. All right, so we've got the top going pretty good here. We can change colors. I'm going to go with a raw umber now. It's a darker brown. We're just going to hit that in a couple spots. Especially if I see a clean spot, we're gonna make sure and get that real good there. As you can see, it is slowly getting more of a three-dimensional look to it. So I put some scratches up here on top when we originally started doing this, and I'm going to try to get that paint nice and wet. Try to get those scratches to really pop there. There we go. This is probably one of my favorite things to do to a prop, is just dirty it up. It's time consuming, but it is worth it in the end. All right, so a little more there than I meant to. I'm going to save the black for the very end because that's really going to bring out some stuff. But let's move over to this blue band here. And I'm just going to repeat what I've been doing so far. All right, so I've mixed a little bit of black with some water. I'm just going to use a foam brush here. And we're going to just, with the diluted black, we're just going to drop it in here. Very haphazard. And then we're going to go back. And we're going to dab out what we don't want in there. Now black goes a long way, that's why I've diluted it out a little bit. We're going to remove most of it. The good part is you can always go back and add more if you want more. And see up here, oops, see up here in this camera, you know, we've just got some black down in those crevices and around. Get over here to the other side. We're just letting that just flow into the places that my rag can't get into. And this is a part of it that you do want to be a little quick with getting your black mopped up so that it doesn't dry. But with the water that we've added, it's gonna stay wet for a minute. More than a minute. All right. So we got it down in the cracks there. Now this part, we do have to go back because this part, being as how it does spin, we do have to go in and get this interior parts, so don't forget about that when you're working along, but I want to leave that open and let it dry. If we get a run there, no big deal. We're just gonna mop it up. That's why I've got stuff down here on the table. Actually gave us a really nice run there. I like that. Still got some white spots in these areas here, which hopefully you can see it on this camera. So I'm gonna go back with my makeup brush in a little bit, and I'll add some black in there to cover anything that didn't get covered in the first place. I'm just gonna keep working around here. All right, so I've over-weathered this thing quite a bit intentionally, and I'm gonna go back and just take some steel wool. We're just gonna rub that out a little bit. We're just gonna tone it down just a bit, not a lot. I haven't let this fully dry, so I may run into some wet paint here. But we're just gonna bring the original color of it back out just a hair. Especially on this side. I got a little crazy on that side. Let's see if we can do this on camera for you. So a little thick there. We're just dragging our 000 steel wool over the top of it and just cleaning it up just a bit. Now the bottom I don't want to clean up because the bottom's where you'd set it in the dirt all the time. I'm just gonna keep moving around until I'm happy with it. Just toning it down just a little bit. This also kind of gives you the opportunity to, if you're pulling a little bit off here, it gives you an opportunity to kind of blend stuff if you need to and so forth. Yeah, I am going to take a little bit off the bottom. I got a little wild and crazy down there. And you can always add more if you take too much off. I'll say that's pretty much where I want to be on this for now. So it's pretty dirty, and you know, I might look at it later with a fresh set of eyes and decide to add or take away more or whatever. That's the beauty of this. Before I clear coat it anyway, to seal in all this paint, you can always add and subtract what you need. So all right, it's looking pretty good. So we're going to stop there for now, and we'll give you some side-by-side comparisons of the original before we even started. And all right, so thanks for joining us on this quick, down and dirty one-day build. So this is the original, what we started with, and here's what we ended up with. So you can see it's very well dirtied up and everything. And next video, we'll probably dive into the interior a little bit and maybe do some modifications on that. So thanks for joining us. Please like and subscribe, and leave a comment down below if you want, especially if you have a suggestion for our next build. We'll see you later.